All right, let's go. It's a Super Monday after a Commanders win. George and I are here to get you all covered through there. We'll talk about the game yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about how we got here, and really, George, what's more importantly, where we're going. And I know your favorite time of year tends to be my favorite time of year, which is draft cycle, because these seasons have been like this one for so long. But George, I think that I won't speak for you, but I think I know. For
Mhm.
me, this has been one of the hardest seasons to get through in a really long time, just because there was such anticipation. I think they were going to be an 11-win team and go to the NFC Championship game again? Not necessarily. I mean, I was hoping that, right? I mean, we got a
Mhm.
taste of that, and I'm hungry for it. But
Mhm.
I if they got 9 games, that would have still been good to me. But this season, where just everything that went wrong, literally the antithesis of last season, really made it hard, I think, to do these things, right? And just to be excited about the product on the football field.
It really stretched your fandom this year, right? So I felt like last year, 12-5, we really enjoyed it. We had unexpected wins, unexpected success, getting to the NFC Championship, NFC Championship game, which was really fantastic and fun to watch. This year was the complete opposite, right? We started off, we actually were 3-2 at one point, right? We were a fumble away from Jaden Daniels handing the ball off to Krosky Merritt to get a first down to be 4-2, and maybe have sort of a stranglehold on the NFC East. We're kind of moving in the right direction. Now, fast forward 3 months later, okay, we just got our first win since then. And it's been 3 months since a win, Doug. It's been pretty tough. And the sad part about it, and the most difficult part about it, was there weren't players to root for, right? There wasn't there. I mean, we root for all of our players, root for all of our players, but for entertainment value, you didn't see Jaden Daniels out there. You didn't see Terry McLaurin out there. Some of the rookies you were hoping to see, they weren't necessarily developing. Trey Amos got hurt pretty early in the year. It was just difficult. Marcus Mariota playing ugly losses too, losing by 20 points, 30 points. Just like almost like a scrimmage format of a type of game where you go out there and the team isn't even competitive. It was pretty difficult. And what's the most difficult part is, going into the season, we're really excited, right? Like, I'm a local guy. I'm, born and raised in the area. I go to National Harbor and I could go down to DC. You're starting to see jerseys out there, starting to see bumper stickers and flags, and people were really pumped up for the season. And almost immediately the enthusiasm went away, and it's been like the season's been dead for a couple months now. It's pretty bad. Like we can't wait for it to be over.
In all of the stinkers that we've been through, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been through a lot of them in the last 20, 30 years, depending on how long you've been watching this team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to think of maybe it's recent and I just don't remember, but it feels like it's been a while since the team lost. I mean, 8 in a row,
Mm-hmm.
2 months worth of football.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. And this was a team that the NFL also expected to do well. That's why, George, we get the ticket here out of market, and so that I can watch, so we go watch all the games. I
Mm-hmm.
bet you there would have only been 4 games I would have missed this year if I had not gotten the ticket, because of all the primetime games. And then the one week Carolina was on their bye, we're down here in North Carolina. The one week they had their bye, we got to see the game here. It was, the closest thing to a local game. So it was wild, the expectations, not just from the fan base,
Mm-hmm.
but from the league.
We were primed to show off this year, right? They put us on these 5 or 6 primetime games. They gave us the NFC East hard knocks. Jaden Daniels was in the face of the league really early on, all these promos and all these different, we went to Madrid. When I went to Madrid, I'm walking around seeing signs of Jaden Daniels that should be on the field. Every single flag post in Madrid had a Jaden Daniels banner on it because they expected him to play. So considering all of that, like I think that compounded, it made the season even worse, Doug, because it was like, hey, we're supposed to be shining. They're not flexing this out of these Sunday night games. They're not flexing it out of these Monday night games. We're getting blown out all these games live on TV in front of everybody on a national audience. And very, very quickly, people were like, you know what? Just kind of they discredited us. And on top of that, we're starting to hear questions about Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, so on and so forth, where previously last year they were almost bulletproof. And now there's questions mostly outside of the fan base, but now even within our fan base.
Assuming the team loses out, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's like some stretch, right? I mean,
Yeah, no.
if
Okay.
I was more curious if they had lost this Giants game. If they'd have lost out and went, 8, 9 to 12, 0 and
Mhm.
12 on the stretch, I mean, at what point then would Dan's seat have got? I mean, is Quinn's seat hot after this year's over? If they lose the next three, I mean, that's a
I
nasty record out.
Yeah, I think he gets 1 year of grace. I think he gets 1 year of grace. I think going to the NFC Championship, we haven't been there since 1991. 12-5 is the most amount of wins we've had since the 90s. The team looked pretty good. I think it's very easy to point the finger and be like, hey, Jaden Daniels was out, Terry McLaurin was out. There's always injuries. We could take a couple gambles, didn't work out. So potentially kind of pointing at that and saying the team wasn't successful. But the counter argument was the what Dan Quinn is advertised and what Dan Quinn is promotes is he's a culture guy, right? He brings the team together, the brotherhood, and they believe, excuse me. However, their teams are getting blown out every week, Doug. Like we weren't showing enthusiasm, we weren't showing discipline, we weren't showing fight for a couple weeks in a row, especially during that stretch where it was like Seahawks. There was a couple games in a row, like Dallas, Seahawks, maybe one or two more right back to back.
That Packers game, I think, pulled the lid back a little bit, right? And I think you saw what the flaws of this team were. They saw the flaws, how they didn't end up fixing it. Maybe they didn't have the personnel to fix it. Maybe
Yep.
they stuck too long with Joe Witt Jr. as the guy playing the calls. But as early as that Packers game, George, you could kind of see, okay, we've got to fix this. They never did. And then to me, the pinnacle of shittiness was that Minnesota game where they just got undressed
They were rock
and
bottom.
exposed. Like that was JJ McCarthy hadn't had a good game all year. It's another game. Like, how about Atlanta? They made Michael Penix look like Steve Young, right?
Yeah.
And that's not been him. JJ McCarthy has not looked good. They made him look like the guy Thor keeps telling us he is.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right?
I think the Packers game was the first time, in my honest opinion, that the team was outcoached. Like it was like last year,
Right.
they kind of were fighting. They looked pretty good. We would come back from behind. They were pretty aggressive going for 4 down last year. Time of possession, so on and so forth. The Packers game, from the very beginning, the score was actually relatively close. I think it was like a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter. But the fact of the matter is, it was like we just knew that we weren't going to win because it just didn't like. We couldn't generate any offense and we couldn't stop. There's huge holes on defense. And you saw that the Packers just had our number there. The Falcons game, it was kind of a back and forth type of game where it actually was pretty exciting. But that was the first time for me where like, our defense might actually really be a problem. Because I remember that game, I was like, hey, I think it was a couple like 35-33 when it was all said and done or something like that. But there was a point where like, if we just get one stop from the Falcons, we just stop their offense one time, we're going to win this game. And we physically couldn't do it. And that was scary, especially because Michael Penix, I think the Falcons and the Vikings, off the top of my head, they both were shut out the week prior and then had an offensive explosion against us, right? I think going into that Falcons game, the Falcons lost like 31-0 to the Panthers and then blew up against us. And then last week, the Vikings had an offer against whatever team they played and then beat us as well. So, I mean, granted, our defense has been a sieve all year long. That's a scary part to me. I think Nick Ackridge already said it, but we have a defensive-minded coach with a bad defense. That's a horrible place to be, right? That's a horrible place to be in an offensive league, right? We're supposed to be in an offensive league in that situation that we're in right now. That's very scary.
Cliff's been better than advertised this year. It may not seem like it, but in a world where they needed to be able to run the ball, for the most part this year, they ran the ball really effectively. They played. Listen, I mean, think about what happened. The offensive line, to their credit, stays together pretty much the whole year. I mean, they get Paul in there, after game 2, and I think it took maybe a month to get Cosme in. But all in all, that was a bright spot of the season. I'm trying to think of, as we're just talking about how nasty and horrible it is, like what the bright spots are. I'd say the offensive line was. Yesterday, it looked like Terry McLaurin, to me, looked like Terry for the first time yesterday in a while. I think we forget small things. When we look at the other side, I'm thinking about they really thought Noah Brown being the second receiver was appropriate with no backup. Like there was no
Mhm.
backup plan if Noah Brown, who has consistently been injured, got injured. And that's how you saw these guys from the practice squad up. And I mean, it was just, it's hard to understand where Adam Peters and Dan Quinn fit together. You know what I mean? Like there's some picks
Yeah.
that Adam Peters has made recently that just aren't getting any action. And I wonder at some point, is there a disconnect between what Adam Peters sees and what Dan Quinn sees? And I guess maybe Cliff, right? I mean, Ben Sinnott. I mean, did you
Mhm.
know that tight ends were allowed to get yards after the catch, George? Because I didn't. I
Yeah.
thought I didn't realize they could do that. But what a beautiful route that he ran. He got
Yeah.
one target yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, 1 target, 1 catch.
Bates
I think he
got,
has 9 catches on the season so far for the year. That was a pretty big catch last night too. But yeah.
but why weren't they using him more? I mean, I worry that they are allowing I lost his name, Bobby Wagner,
Mhm.
to chase his career stats here.
Mm.
I mean, that's what it is. He's like a season and a half. He needs this year. He needs all the rest of these games to get the all-time tackle record.
Mm.
And to me, I hope he's not here to get it next year. I put it like that.
No, no. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I think the one thing that I would say, I think Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have a good relationship. This is all just
Yeah.
my gut feeling. I feel like they have a good relationship. I feel like Adam Peters is the type of guy that gives autonomy to his coaches and kind of like delegates. I think he's delegating to Dan Quinn to lead this team, and I think whatever reasoning behind it, Dan Quinn has that loyalty to his players, right? Like he feels attached to Bobby Wagner. He feels like he's the truest leader, and he's the he's the prototype for how to conduct yourself before games, during games, so on and so forth. And he wants him out there for whatever reason. And I think Dan Quinn is like maybe he's a victim of his own competitiveness. And essentially he's like, you know what? Like, I don't care what the outside noise says. It's kind of like what we're doing inside of our house. We want to put our best players on the field every single game. He kind of has a vision of a program that he wants to have, and he's more focused on that program as opposed to playing the inferior players, right? Maybe he should start changing his perspective with, hey, yes, I have a program, and these players might not be the best players compared to Bobby Wagner, so on and so forth, but maybe part of the program is I'm building it up and transitioning into next year. But I'm just kind of curious if Dan Quinn has, I don't want to say guts, but like, does he want to break his
The
brotherhood
fortitude.
by fortitude, but also like, consideration, like empathy, looking at Bobby Wagner, like, hey, I know you're fully healthy, and I know you're probably the best player on the team, but I'm going to bench you anyway for Jordan McGee or something like that. That's going to be a hard conversation, and I don't know if that's a great conversation like that you can exhibit in front of the entire team, right? I think the fan base has their own perspective. I'm part of the fan base, right? But I think the fan base has a perspective of like what they want to happen, but then what's really happening inside the building, right? Like how can you tell Jordan McGee that? Sorry, tell Bobby Wagner to sit down and then basically let someone more inferior play over him? I don't know. We see every single day Jaden Daniels is sitting directly next to Bobby Wagner during these meetings. His lockers right next to him inside the locker room. Like, is that the right message to portray? There really isn't a right or wrong way to do it, but I guess maybe at this point of the year, 3 games left, maybe we start seeing that now. We'll see.
Well, it reminds me of when Cliff was in Arizona
Mm-hmm.
and had Trey McBride, who they drafted in the third round, and
Yeah.
they also had Zach Ertz.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't take Zach Ertz off the field, even though everybody assumed or thought that Trey McBride would be the better one. It took him getting hurt, Zach Ertz, before they were willing to put Trey McBride out there. Like, and this goes for the Bobby Wagners of the world too. Zach Ertz got hurt, or else I don't think we'd have seen it. But now that they're out of playoff contention, I know everybody wants to play spoiler in the NFC East, but at what point do we really need to see what McGee can do as a full-time Mike in a game? You're going to wait to the very last game of the season to do that? It feels inadequate. It feels like not enough. Like that second round that he picked from 2 years ago has not been good. I mean, Zerhan Newton, 34% of the snaps
Mm-hmm.
34. I mean, think about that, George. 2 years ago, we were talking about Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen playing 80% or
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
of the snaps and how ludicrous that was. 34% for a guy that you drafted in the second round that people said slid down from the first round to the second
Mm-hmm.
round. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Adam Peters himself says we never thought he'd be there, so we snatched him up quickly.
They
I
had him
mean,
highly graded. See, I don't know if you remember, but like I remember I took a picture. They had their commanders board during like they
yes,
had a
right.
documentary series that they had. And they actually had the board, and he was clearly a tier above. They viewed him better than the players around him. Like he was. They did tier-based drafting. He was a tier above, and he basically like this is a steal to get him in the second round. So they honestly felt that way. So I don't know. It's tough, and you're right. That whole second round class. People are hard on Sanders still. Maybe I'm too easy on Sanders. So I like Sanders still.
At
I
what
think it
point
get.
do we recognize that Sanders Stroll is a boundary corner and just leave him there?
I think maybe they're figuring that out right now, right? I think Sanders Hill's a good. I think he's a good player. I
Yeah,
think Sanders Hill's being misused. I think he's a good player. I think he's a heady player. I think he has ball instincts. He has what 4 interceptions on the year, and I think there's
yeah.
maybe one or two more throughout this year where he like had the balls in his hand and he almost had another interception, right? So he's around the ball often, but yes, he also gives up big plays. But I think it just they just can't communicate. They're actually pretty poor with communicating amongst the back secondary. So the play that's what I caution with some people that just watch a TV film. You have to watch all 22, right? There are times where Mikey Sanders still does mess up, clearly, right? Everyone messes up and he has some bad plays. But on TV, you might see one thing, which you might not see the entire picture, where a safety doesn't roll over where he's supposed to be, and Mikey Sanders is trying to cover up for someone else who's running over there and gets a big play too. So it's always kind of hard to kind of look at it one by one. But I mean, obviously Sanders has some bad plays. I agree with that. But I just think the defense as a whole was just so miscoached, and it was just like errors, and there's bad players out there. Lattimore was definitely people had to overcome. Like they played man coverage because of Lattimore and because Trey Amos, and that's not the strength of the defense. And that's the opposite of what Sanderson is. I think Sanderson is a better zone corner than he is a man corner. He's better at reading and reacting as opposed to being on top of somebody. So I don't know.
Of course, if people want to see the all 22, they can always watch the Commander's Film Room on Wednesdays with
Mm-hmm.
you and Mark Bullock and Nick Ackridge. We've done
Mm-hmm.
a great job with that. We're lucky to have them for one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Say that as much as possible because both those guys could be doing it for somebody else and with somebody else, and I'm glad they spend their Wednesdays here with us because they're as bright as they come. And
high quality, man. Absolutely.
you, you learn a
Mhm.
lot every time you watch. I assure you that. Any other bright? Jalen Lane is a punt returner, bright spot
Mhm.
on the year.
I think he found his spot, right? I think that's where he should be. Jalen Lane should be my vision for Jalen Lane is a punt returner, spot wide receiver on trick plays, screens, so on and so forth. That's what he should be. Jalen Lane, maybe he'll develop more. Maybe he played in a very limited kind of like archaic offense in Virginia Tech, and then now
Yes,
he's
it's
transitioning.
terrible.
He's transitioning into a better position now in Washington. Maybe he elevates to something more, but I wouldn't depend on him. I think that's kind of the issue. I think McCaffrey is a hardworking type of wide receiver, hardworking blocking type of wide receiver, kick returner, right? Jalen Lane is a great punt returner, but those aren't. I'm not hearing route runner. I'm not hearing contested catcher. I'm not hearing deep threat, right? And I think that's the problem. I don't know if Adam Peters kind of like, hey, they're going to work towards it. They're going to get better. We're going to coach him up, or he just had a bad vision. I don't know what's going on, but I'd never walked into this season thinking that they were going to be those guys. I never thought that. I don't know why they felt that way. I don't know why they depended on Noah Brown. I think for a couple of years now, I've been yelling for a wide receiver for a couple of years now, going back to the Dotson 2022, and I wasn't happy with Dotson. When they drafted him, I was like, damn, I wanted Jameson Williams. I wanted Garrett Wilson. That's who I really wanted. They picked Dotson, who I thought was overdrafted, like a second-round talent in the first round, and we're kind of feeling the repercussions of that right now. So I want a wide receiver, and the problem is I don't know how they're going to do it, right? They only had that one first-round pick. I think you get what you pay for, right? We've seen Luke McCaffrey as a fourth-round talent. We're seeing Jalen Lane as a fourth-round talent. Yes, you could get some production from fourth-round talents, but I wouldn't mind having a first-round talent out there that's going to basically go out there and dominate, right? Like Terry McLaurin's playing like a first-rounder and he's a third-rounder, but he's the outlier. I think the outliers in the league are Terry McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Puka Nacua. And Doug, when you tweet out like, hey, you have to get a wide receiver in the first round, those are the 3 answers you're going to get. I'm like, all right, tell me someone else. Devontae Smith, first rounder. Tell me someone else. It's always a first rounder. It's basically the best. There's a strong correlation with picking a wide receiver early and then being successful. Some of them whiff, but most of the top dogs are first round picks.
I agree with that completely. Diami left for the bag. Hadn't had the greatest year. Mm-hmm. Is that a guy like now that he's had the bag? He's probably back down to a $4 million a year receiver, which he should have been in the first place. Would you be interested in a reunion with Diami? Because he offered something that they need, right? Like Terry is a route runner and a technician, and yes, he's fast. But Diami on the other side with that speed, really, you could see what it did last year when he started getting it going. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because he wanted and got $10 million, I believe it was. This year. They were never going to pay that. I get that. But at $4 million, would you be interested in a Diami reunion?
That's interesting. I feel like we could do better. Honestly, I feel like we could do better, but if our options are limited, that's kind of where we're at, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think he kind of plays. He shouldn't be a number 2. Like he should be our 3 or 4, right? So, in my opinion, I don't see him as a number 2, right? Like another conversation that keeps coming up is Brandon Aiyuk. People really want him on the team. I'm not opposed to that either, but I don't think you peg him in as a number 2 as well. When if you get Brandon Aiyuk, you view him the same way that you view Deebo Samuel this year potentially, or even Noah Brown, right? It's like, hey, there's injury concerns, production concerns. There's like, we want him, but we also want him as maybe our wide receiver 3, kind of like a, medium risk, high reward kind of guy. That's kind of what we're going for with them. Like, so to answer your question, I would be open to Diami Brown, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind trying something different, right? I like Romeo Doubs a lot from the Packers. I know he drops the ball a lot, but they're in a high spread offense, and he gets a lot of catches. I think he produces every single week. Every time I watch him on TV, he does a good job. I wouldn't be opposed to him. Maybe
did you bring the free agent list for offense with you?
I did. We can pull that up really quickly.
Yeah.
We have someone in the chat says give Burks a shot first, potentially.
I wouldn't mind that.
Burks for me is kind of like I view him as more of a kind of a training camp body. I don't see. Maybe I'm being too tough. I don't know if you tell me if I'm too tough, Doug. I just feel like with him, I just think he's like he hasn't really succeeded. He has there's a lot of question marks with him.
He's been hurt the last couple of years.
He's been hurt the past couple of years.
We've been down that road with the great Noah Brown. Congratulations on your catch this year. But I mean, former first rounder, like you said, they don't all pan out. I am intrigued by Burks. But again, I mean, I'm with you, George. I think at this point, I would I don't know. They've got to hit in that first round because they've only got the one first rounder, right? So I mean,
And if
they don't have much behind it.
If you look at the wide receivers right here, so it's kind of
Are you interested in Deebo again?
It's not really.
He's been good for them this year.
He has been good for them. He has been good. It just depends on how much he wants, right? I feel like Deebo ideally is a wide receiver 3 in our offense, right? I think you kind of need him. Yeah, he's a luxury. He's someone that you have kind of as like a wrinkle, someone you throw screens to, someone that you yard after catch. Like he's kind of a utility player, but he's not a true number 2. Like I want someone that is running, authentic routes, running some routes that stretches the defense or routes that opens everything else for everyone else. I don't think Deebo Samuel does that. I think he's more of I think what I've heard the other day, he has the most amount of catches that he's had in years. Like I think he's had he's had more catches than in previous years, but I think he has his lowest yards per catch, in the past 5-6 years. He's 9 yards per catch. And in 2024, when he was on the 49ers, his down year was 13. So his worst year in San Francisco was 13. He has 9 now. So he's obviously regressing. He's not really doing too well.
Is there anybody on this list that stands out to you?
Let me take a look really quickly. So look at the list.
The top 3 guys are all no's, right?
Yeah, Mike Evans too. I mean, he's fantastic, but I think he's a Tampa Bay lifer. Christian Kirk's too small, more of a slot guy. Deebo, I like him. I think there's a high probability. I think there's a 55% chance he comes back. I don't think if Deebo plays again, I mean, he's 30, 31. He probably will play on another season, but I feel like he's more likely to play with us than someone else, in my opinion. I'd be surprised if he went somewhere else, kind of.
Okay.
Let's take a look. Jawan Jennings actually is pretty solid. He actually produces for the 49ers. I don't know if he's like a solution for me. I like Rashid Shaheed as kind of like an explosive guy. But he like the thing is this: he went to Seattle in a very potent offense with his former offensive coordinator, and he hasn't done anything at all since he's been the trade. So maybe that's kind of scary over there. Going down. I mean, look at this. It's a rough list, man.
You hit it on the head. We are going down right here.
You hit it down. Let me take a look. Let me look at some maybe age.
What about George Pickens is on this list?
George Pickens is fantastic. I mean, George Pickens is like one of the ones to get. But I think I think he had such success in Dallas. He kind of got a little taste of it. And I don't think he's going to go anywhere because of that, right? I feel like people were buying his jersey. He was producing. He was doing pretty well. I think, once Jerry starts liking you a little bit, money starts getting thrown your way.
Yeah.
So you start seeing that. Rez in the chat said Jacoby Myers and Jennings. I don't know how you feel about that, Doug.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not that they'd be no's for me, but I mean, at some point you got to. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, that's what premier wide receivers make. I understand we've already got Terry at 30, but I think next year's the last deal where the money's guaranteed for Terry, right?
It is.
Wasn't it basically a 2-year deal, and then it's like pay as you go after that? I mean, frankly, we've had this discussion, George, and I know people hate to hear it, but I'd rather have Pickens at 24 for $31 million than Terry at 31 or whatever he's going to do next year for $30 million. I get the concept, but there's your guy, Romeo Dobbs. If he costs $11 million, I'll sign me up for that one, I guess.
Yeah, I was looking around. So I mean, for me, it's like I Terry. What really impressed me when I knew Terry was back was basically the Broncos game. Right, he looked really elite. He started to stand out. He was putting up numbers. I was really impressed by him, and that just kind of showed me that it's like he's a different level than what we have currently. Right, like looking at Noah Brown, looking at Chris Moore, looking at all those, even Debo, like Terry clearly stands out.
Yes.
But there's so much writing on the wall where it's like Terry is a good player, but I honestly feel like there's going to be regression, right? Like we're starting to see the injury now. He's, he might be a 1,000-yard receiver next year. I just don't know how much longer it's going to be. So you kind of have to have a contingency plan, right? That's why I liked getting maybe a Carnell Tate early in the draft.
Yeah.
But our defense is really, really bad, man. So I don't know, we might have to trade back at a couple picks here or there, but maybe for next year, just us to survive, you roll out Terry McLaurin, you get the best defensive player available, and you start looking at a Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs, $11 million. That's a pretty solid player. I mean, I think he's more well-rounded than Diami Brown. People like Alec Pierce.
I was going to say Alec Pierce would not be terrible.
Alec Pierce is kind of he has kind of a vertical element to him. He can play underneath over there. There is Diami Brown. Jalen Naylor was going off yesterday. He was a pretty good player yesterday too. Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed.
But none of these guys are going to elevate your program.
No, none of these guys are all like ancillary pieces. These are people like wide receiver 3, 4, 5. You got to put them in there to kind of like fill out the room. So I don't know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe like you get an Ayuk and you get a Romeo Dobbs, or you get Ayuk and you get an Alec Pierce, and you kind of roll out with them, Dobbs, Ayuk, and Terry McLaurin. You kind of make it, roll the dice next year and hopefully something steps up a little bit. Like I don't see McCaffrey. I think what we see is what we get with those guys. Like McCaffrey and Lane, that's who they are. They might have a big game here or there. They might have a big catch here or there, but their biggest contributions in their pro careers are going to be on special teams, in my opinion.
I think you're right. Let's take a look at the defense, George, because the defense is different, right? I think in free agency next year. You don't usually see a lot of guys, but I think there's some guys available this offseason that can actually help fix your program, some edge rushers and linebackers.
To me, I lightly did this. This is the first time you and I are talking about it, but I did this kind of offline doing my own thing. I think what I saw was there's a pretty good cornerback class that's available. Like this free agent class, in my opinion, are corners, tight ends, and running backs are the ones that are the most attractive to me, right? Looking at edge, we can kind of look at that right now. That's a hot topic over here in DC. Let's pull it up really quickly. I don't see really very many edges that really tempt me, right? Trey Hendrickson, 30, he's going to be 32 years old next year, $30 million, coming off of an oblique injury. That's kind of a red flag for me. Khalil Mack, 35 years old. That's too old for me. Hassan Reddick, I feel like he's kind of going off name recognition now, not necessarily the best player anymore. Joey Bosa's up and down. Do any of these guys tempt you, Doug?
No, probably not.
Yeah. I mean, look at them. They're really, nothing. The top, let's organize it by market value. Maybe those are quote unquote the best players in the market. So Arden Key, AJ Espinoza, maybe.
Yeah, AJ Espinoza is interesting, but I think he's more of a, which is maybe what they want, more of a run. Like I don't know that he's got tons of. He's
juice.
Certainly not all twitched up. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to age, going to age. Azeez Ojulari, he's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Who else really?
Really, that's
it.
I was thinking maybe somebody had mentioned that the kid from the former first rounder that's down in Jacksonville,
Walker.
Yeah, maybe people were talking about being able to trade for him because he's only got a year left on his.
Yeah, but a trade's a trade, man. So I mean, if we don't really have the picks to trade,
future pick. What does the linebacker group look like?
Okay, pull that up real quick.
Because I don't think they're going to need or be interested in corners. I wouldn't think
they might, because I think Marshall Lattimore is going to go away. And looking at this, I feel like there are some good corners out there. I love Tariq Woolen. I think he's 26 years old, 6'4". He's a Seattle guy. You can kind of see like Cam Chancellor in him a little bit over there. Jamel Dean's a pretty good corner. Cam Taylor-Britt was highly touted coming out of college, kind of been up and down over in Cincinnati. He's definitely an interesting player there. There's a couple other that I thought were pretty impressive. Let me take a look.
But do you, if the plan turns out to be keeping Sanders still outside, then you're looking more at nickel corners.
Yeah, and they tend to be a little bit cheaper, to be honest with you, in regard to the market. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Look at that linebacker, top of the list, best one available, Bobby Wagner. Doug, you take a look at that. 35 years old. Devin Lloyd, a lot of people like him a lot. $20 million, 27 years old. He's really intriguing. Take a look. Quincy Williams, Caden Ellis, Devin Bush.
I like Leo Chanel.
Kansas City is not bad. Shaq Thompson, Jake Martin, Devin White. Yeah, I don't know. I
guess I thought there were some other guys coming onto this thing, but
it's funny. Yeah, I mean,
good players don't make it generally to free agency, right? I mean, that's part of the problem here.
Exactly. Going by age, Kobe Dean's a little bit interesting, a little bit undersized as well, but he's interesting there.
Yep.
But Quay Walker, people like him a lot. That's definitely an interesting one. I mean,
I think if you added a Quay Walker,
I
think he instantly does something different to the defense if you can get a Kobe Dean. Hey, and frankly, I mean, we talked about this at the top of the show. We still really have no idea who or what McGee can be. So I mean, as we're looking at these guys and talking about Nakobe Dean, like I like Nakobe Dean at middle linebacker, but is he better than McGee? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I've said it before, and people always kind of I feel like kind of the lazy argument coming back. It's like I think that this is like a weaker free agent class. Like I don't think it's a really strong free agent class where there's like a can't miss player that we have. I think George Pickens is probably that one. Maybe Breece Hall and like Kenneth Walker and stuff like that are other big names there. But it doesn't seem like a franchise altering free agency, and people really want to buy 5 or 6 or 7 free agents. I don't really know if they're there. I see Rez talking about Devin Lloyd. I think it's a pretty interesting player there. 27 years old, pretty interesting. But I don't know. Tight ends are pretty. I mean, there's a pretty good tight ends to potentially get as well, in my opinion. Njoku, Goddard. We have Pitts. Let's take a look. Who else? Noah Fant. There's some players out there, in my opinion.
I guess. I mean, a bunch of guys that really haven't done much as of recent. I mean, are you in on Kyle Pitts because he had a good season? Because He hadn't had any good seasons before that. Now, we've also heard from people that play the position that it's the hardest one to learn in the league, but I just I don't know. I don't know that I trust his 1 year of production.
He so I think he's gonna have 1,000 yards by the end of this season too, which is actually pretty good. He had one his rookie year. So if you take out 2 of his 4 years, he had 1,000 yards at the tight end, which is pretty solid, you know. I think he's kind of a victim of his draft position. He was like a top 5 pick, I
Okay.
believe.
Yep.
So basically people were like, yo, he is supposed to be dominant, like, you know, game changer. But there's been many times where he's been absent. But also the Falcons offensive coordinator, I forget his name now. He was awful. I think Arthur Smith. He was basically, it was Arthur Smith.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
went to
yeah. He basically just like he used Kyle Pitts as a blocking tight end, as a decoy. He didn't necessarily use him right. I'm not saying Kyle Pitts is an automatic, you know, game changer, but I think there is some talent there. And all I'm trying to say is like maybe with a Jaden Daniels and someone that might know how to throw him open, it might be a different ball game. Like I don't know if I want to pay him $14 million a year. So that's kind of like the point for me. But like if he's like a $10 million guy or something a little bit cheaper, then potentially not be interested.
How hesitant would you be to trade back in the draft, knowing that the team needs so many picks?
It depends on what they
do. They need more picks, George? Sorry to cut you off. I wanted to rephrase because I think this is a better way to ask it. Do they need more picks, or do they have to hit a game changer, hoping that you're never going to draft this high again during Jaden Daniels' tenure in Washington?
I think they need more picks. Like I honestly believe that, right? Like I've always been. We worked together for multiple years now. I've always been of the ilk where you get the best player available, and I was all in on that with Chase Young with the number 2 overall pick. I was like, dude, we need.
He's actually having a nice year down in New Orleans.
He is playing pretty well now, right? Yeah, he is. So for me, I was always like, you have to have a blue chip prospect. You have someone that takes it over the top, someone that could just be dominant. But the problem is you kind of put all your eggs in one basket. Like even let's be real. Right? Like maybe I'm being difficult, but let's be real. Chase Young's first rookie year, people were like, "Oh, you know, rookie of the year, yada yada." He had a couple good plays. He had 6 or 7 sacks or something. He was like okay, and that was basically the peak of his whole career.
He was killing Ben DiNucci and him.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't really killing it, right? So I don't think he ever approached double-digit sacks. Right? I think the highest was 8 or 9 or something like that, right? So this is where I honestly think is going to happen, right? I think Washington's sitting at 8 right now. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to lose at least 2 more games. They might sneak off one week 18 against the Eagles or surprise the Cowboys on Christmas, something along the lines of that. But they're going to lose 2 more games. I think they're going to get up to like 6. They're going to be like pick number 6. And I think people are overreacting, but I think they're going to get, like, you know, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs. They're going to be there at 6. I think people are overreacting. I think Ruben Bain might be gone like number 2 or number 3. I think some quarterbacks are going to go up there. Some offensive linemen, left tackles are going to go up there. People, like, you know, we still have a long way in the draft process to go. People are kind of caught in the echo chamber of the Commanders' lifestyle, and they're like, oh, Caleb Downs is going to go number 2 overall. Like, no, he's not. He's a safety. Oh. He's going to go like 6, 10, 12. He's going to be like around there, and we can get him at our current spot. That being said, if we were to trade back, I want 2 first-round picks. That's what I want, right? So if it's like the Rams have 2, I think the Browns have 2. I think someone else, maybe the Cowboys have 2. They probably wouldn't trade with us. But it's like, I think the Rams have 2, and one of them is the Falcons or something, right? So maybe maybe it could be like, we go from 6 to 10. We get the Falcons pick, and we get their we get their number 32 pick because the Rams are freaking awesome this year, and we have both of those first round picks, and that might potentially help us out a little bit because I don't know, man. I think it's hard. You can't it's now there isn't one player on, like, if we had Arvell Reese against the Lions a couple weeks ago, right? Would that have made a difference, Doug? Like, honestly,
no, probably I don't think so.
Or the Seahawks or something like that. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, we are clearly outmatched. But it's the last thing I will say. It's hard to assess because we don't even have our guns. We didn't have McLaurin or we couldn't honestly assess our true team because our team was so bad. Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, and let's just not forget that. I mean, when did Austin Eckler go down? It's easy to kind of forget what this team was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And maybe the Giants were terrible then, just as they were terrible yesterday.
Yeah.
But like, with Dietrich Wise out there next to Kinlaw, next to Payne, next to Dorrance Armstrong, like you kind of got an idea of what they wanted. And with Luvu and Bobby, there's the two linebackers, and Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Amos and Will Harris and Mikey in the slot. I mean, these are all things that we thought would be there, right? And they just weren't.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you know my affinity for Darnell Washington, but he's not the game breaker.
changer.
He should be a game breaker, but he's
changer.
just not. Yeah, I that's the problem, George. They're not one player away, but I also it's such a terrible year to have a top pick.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no Drake May to trade up for. There's no Jaden Daniels to trade up for.
Yeah.
There's quarterbacks. And look, we'll have plenty of time for this, right? And we'll bring on the best that we can find to break down all of it. But, you know, Quincy Avery said the kid from Indiana, what's his name? That everybody loved. It's not even he was like, I don't see it with him in the NFL. Like, I think he's one of these guys that was a great story in college. So, like, it just, there aren't a lot of blue chippers. Like, who's the left tackle that everybody's talking about going top 10? I don't know if there is one.
Yeah.
Right? Who's the twitched up end that can run the passer and play run defense? Like, there's not really one of those guys that is super electric. We'll see some guys that do one thing good or the other thing good, but there have been years in the past where you've got these heavy home run hitters, and we just don't have them in this draft. Not a great draft to be picking top 10, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think, I mean, I will not classify myself as a draft guru by any means, right? I think by the time I get to the draft cycle, I'll start putting more and more time in. I'll start learning more and more. Sure. At this point right now, from what I've seen, I think the fan base is overreacting to Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain. I think they think there's something that they're not, right? Yep. Arvell Reese, like, he is an off-ball linebacker. Like, he plays multiple positions. He can rush off the edge. When I watch him, I see him as a rookie prospect, Frankie Luvu. That's kind of the way I see him. Okay. When people think of him, they think of him like, they're like, oh, Micah Parsons. He's gonna people hear the name Micah Parsons and they assume NFL professional Micah Parsons. But I think the comp people constantly relate to is the Penn State Micah Parsons, where he could play linebacker and he could play off the ball will, kind of like that. Like, he's versatile to that aspect. He's not hand in the dirt, blitzing off the edge. He only has 6 sacks right now at Ohio State, and he's a good player. But I think I see him like he would be more of like a, do we get him to kind of replace Wagner or Luvu kind of thing? That's the way I view him. While people are thinking about him being like, you know, he's going to be Myles Garrett. It's not even close in regard to that, right? And then Ruben Bain is a 275-pound edge. His quality is that he can play the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7 technique. He can go up and down the line. He's very, very powerful. But he only has 4 sacks right now in the ACC on Miami. I think he has 22 pressures, but we learned with Montez Sweat and Chase Young, pressure doesn't really get you that far. We have a lot of pressures with Jonathan Allen too, but that really isn't game-changing. His comp is Cam Jordan, what I keep hearing about him with Ruben Bain. He's kind of like a big body, thicker, like edge, he could be a good cornerstone. Like, if that's what you want, if you're like, hey, you know what? Our team is so bad. We want a player that can be placed there to play multiple positions, you know, like we could put him next to Kinlaw, next to Payne, next to whatever, and have a pretty damn solid defensive line, and then maybe get a free agent for cornerback. I can see that vision, but I don't see the vision where people are like, yo, he's a 14 sack guy because he hasn't done it in college. Why is he going to do it in the pros? You know, in my opinion,
he won't.
Yeah, he won't.
That's what we've learned over the years, right? Is you can get a pretty good read on what the guys do in college and how it will translate to the pros, and convincing yourself otherwise is foolish. We've seen that. Let's get out of here on this one, George. Right. If the linebacker is sitting there, either one of the top 2 or 3 receivers is sitting there, or Caleb Downs. Like, if Caleb Downs is indeed some version of Earl Thomas or Ed Reed, like, does that intrigue you?
Yes, it does actually.
Yeah.
So like I've been what personally what I value, maybe I'm being biased and it's recency bias, but when I watch players and when I watch teams, I really love the college football playoffs because I think that shows you something, right? Because this is the biggest games of their lives. And
Mhm.
do these players rise to the occasion, right? Like, do these players like, hey, it's a Big Ten championship. This is a national championship. This is like all eyes are on me, all the pressure's on me. My team needs me to win, and you want to see them thrive. I do put that in high value. And I've been watching Ohio State's games the past 3 games. I've been watching them, casually, but now like dialing
Sure.
in on like watching Carnell Tate on offense, Ever Reese and Caleb Downs on defense. And that's why I'm starting to fall off on Reese because I'm like, he's not making the impact that I want. But Caleb Downs, I think, honestly, it might be the safest safest player in the entire draft. Because Doug, what he does, like, I'm not sure if you really dialed in yet with him, but he's like cornerback, nickelback, free safety, strong safety, like Buffalo nickel. He does everything, and he's all over the place, right? Like players, like with him, he might not have an impact all the time because they're throwing away from him, Doug. Like they're like, damn, he's that
Which is
good. I'm
an
gonna stay away
impact.
from him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay away from him. And then you still see him running across the field, like the linebacker misses a tackle, then Reese tackles him there. So I feel like Reese would be a solidified piece. And I even said it yesterday during a tweet. I'm like, you know what? Mikey Sanders, so he's a player there, someone to build around. You have Sanders still in a good scheme. You get Trey Amos back. You put Caleb Downs back there. You get another cornerback, in the draft, or you get a free agent. That's a pretty good foundation to kind of build around because then you have 3 guys that are relatively young that you can build around as a core. And hopefully, if Caleb Downs is as advertised, like he's known for being like almost like a McLaurin type, or like he's a leader, and he speaks up and does all that kind of stuff. So if he's like if he's leading the DB room and they're all coming together, because Mike Sanderson's a smart guy too. He has that kind of chip on his shoulder too. So I wouldn't be mad at that. But I know people are like, you don't get a safety that high, whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about putting together a really young DB room.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of how you start there.
Mhm.
And I don't know what they'll end up doing with Quan. It's been unfortunate with Quan, right? Like
Yeah, up and
I
down.
mean, even as far back as when we talked to Jim Nagy right after the draft,
Mhm.
like remember, I mean, Nagy was super pumped about Quan Martin
Mhm.
during that draft, and
Yep.
for whatever
So
reason,
was
he just
Logan
hasn't put
Paulson.
it
Logan
together.
Paulson was really high on him too.
They all were. I mean, a lot of people, most people we talked to were like, "That's the one guy I think people are missing on," and I was pumped when they got him. But are you guys? Is the film room open on Wednesday this week?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gotta reach out to Nick and Mark, but we talked about it last week, and I wouldn't see why not. It'll be nice to kind of have a win film breakdown. I think people would like to watch that. I think we'd like to break down that film too, so I think we are.
Okay, and I think Ryan Fowler's going to be on with us Friday.
Cool. I didn't know that. Okay, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah. So we'll look forward to those and cool. So all right. Yes. Okay. So film room on Wednesday, and then we'll go inside the command center on Friday. All right, buddy.
Game on Saturday, man. Pretty cool. Actually,
Yeah,
like
game on
I don't
Saturday.
mind Saturday 5 o'clock game. It's kind of nice actually. I don't mind it.
5 o'clock's a sweet spot.
Sweet spot. Watch that game, come home, chill out, have Sunday to relax as well. It's gonna be fantastic.
It's a home game. You're going, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Cool.
All right, brother.
All right, guys. Peace.